Are we recording this time? Yes, we are. All right, lads and lasses. And good day, mates. Welcome to another episode of the Turn of the Podcast, which everyone knows by now is easily the Southern Hemisphere's best dedicated Newcastle United podcast, when we remember to press the record button. So today, again, we're going to be talking about the status of the current transfer window. And following that, we'll get into a preview of the ultra super duper mega important away game at Leeds this weekend. I'm joined today by Craig. Climate Craig up there in Cairns. How you going, mate?
I'm going to can you make yourself?
I feel like I've done this before.
Serious case of deja vu here, lads.
Oh, fucking hell. Yeah. And I've also got Andy Carroll lookalike and resident Newcastle angry man. It's Dimi down in Victoria. How you going, Dimi?
I'm good. I'm not angry. I'm feeling good.
I am.
I'm ready for the pod.
Good. Again, yes. And we have a guest today to talk mostly about the Leeds game. It's Dan, the Leeds fan man. Welcome to the pod, Dan. How are you going?
Good, mate. Good. Cheers. Really good. Much better now
Brilliant.
that I'm over COVID, mate.
Oh, yes. Excellent. Well done. So just quickly, Dan, again, in say 60 seconds or so, can you tell us where you're from? Because evidently that's not a Leeds accent. And how come you support Leeds? And what are you doing around here in Australia?
So I've been I'm a Welshman living in Australia. Been in Australia for about 10 years. Always been a Leeds fan because of my old man. My old man supported them back in the originally from the 60s and 70s. Didn't give me much of a choice really. So I became a Leeds fan, and here we are. Yeah. And
doing well to not get burnt to a crisp with that Welsh skin of yours.
Well, I'm in isolation, so I can't go out. So it's actually great for me, actually.
Oh, very good. Yeah, but 10 years though, you've done a good job of dodging the sun.
Yeah, so far so good.
Cool. All right. Well, welcome to the show, Dan. Great to have you along. Cheers. And we're going to get straight into the transfer shenanigans right after this. All right. So this probably won't be that long a talk about the transfer window since absolutely now it's happened since last week when we last talked about it. I was just saying before there that last time we talked about this 7 days ago, I was getting really excited. There's lots of talk about all these big money players that we were going to sign. And it just seemed like a matter of time. You know, it felt like we were on a roll. Really exciting. Far cry from the Mike Ashley days when, you know, you had to scrape together a penny for whoever shit, probably. Now we're talking about all these superstars. Money's flying around all over the place, at least in the papers. And here we are 7 days later, still haven't signed anyone new. We had that depressing draw with Watford, which if we had a one-off, we would have been out of the bottom three, but now we're second bottom of the league. And I've got this sense of frustration building now. You know, we're still being linked to dozens and dozens of different players, most of which I've never heard of before, which is no great surprise. But there's lots of noise coming from all these different directions, these different reporters from different areas, all these ITKs, which I know Jack hates. But they're all kind of agreeing that we're putting in these offers, all kind of agreeing that we're interested in these players. There's sometimes some contradictions and, you know, that can be frustrating, but that's kind of normal for every transfer window. But what's really getting on my tits right now and getting me really frustrated is that, especially since last week, we've desperately needed new players in the team. And as if it needed to be highlighted, there's Lascelles getting dominated by a midget in the 87th minute. You know, he's facing his goalkeeper when he should be looking the other way. You know, just a total masterclass in how to not defend. And he's the bloody captain as well. So it's painfully obvious that we need some reinforcements. And my concern is that we are so shit that the sense of urgency, I think the sense of urgency is there, but the sense of actually something really getting close to happening isn't there. We needed someone in before Leeds. We are so bad at the back that we're going to get murdered probably. We'll get into that in a bit. But we needed someone in, at least one person in centre-back position, certainly, before Leeds. And here we are, 6 days later, and out. You know, we've spent most of our time chasing this fella, Diego Carlos, at Sevilla. And we've had offers rejected. We've agreed fees with the player himself, but the club are sticking to their guns. They want I've read that they want 50 million euros to agree to the sale. But even then, even if we give them 50 mil, they might just move the goalposts and it'll be 60 mil, and then we'll just go around and around in circles. But he's a centre. We desperately need a centre back, and he's meant to be quite good. But yeah, 7 days later, nothing's happened. I'd love to have a central defensive midfielder even, but Christ, let's get the centre back sorted if we can. So I'm getting really frustrated that we haven't got anyone in. I'm really worried about this weekend. Dan's probably going to enjoy how much we aren't looking forward to this game. But 6 days later since last week, Craig, since we last spoke, how are you feeling about the transfer window as it stands right now?
A bit apprehensive, to be honest, because everything's gone a bit stale and a bit stagnant. There's nothing happening or nothing that's in the immediate press anyway. There's been a few talks that 2 players were close, one which was Carlos, the other was an unnamed player. But Carlos, I think he said in a pre-match interview that he's staying with Sevilla for the foreseeable now. So whether that's just talk of him getting more money or whatever, who knows. There's this Ateki kid who's the next David Trezeguet or Mbappe, again, another one that we've had personal terms agreed with, but no fee agreed with the club. I don't know what's happening. Again, I think it's inexperience with our board. I think it's a case of other clubs trying to take advantage of us. And to be honest, why wouldn't they? I would expect us to do the same. It's a tough window regardless of how much money you've got. And unfortunately, being the richest club in the world puts you on a very high profile. And everybody takes notice of when you've got a bit of extra coin in your back pocket.
The richest and probably the most desperate club in the world, I think, at this stage. Dimi, how do you feel since we signed Wood about a week ago?
Yeah, very frustrated. I mean, the Watford result just compounded everything, I think, because copping a last-minute equaliser kept us still in the relegation zone. And I think the whole mood around the club and the fan base was, all right, our centre-backs are terrible. Lascelles is an absolute hack. Shah's always out of position. We need a centre-back at least this week to give that squad a bit of belief, a bit of confidence that we can go to Leeds and actually defend like a Premier League team. And the fact that we haven't been able to secure anyone as of recording this on Thursday evening, Aussie time, is frustrating, because you can't say that they've been planning for this for a long time. I mean, we're 20 days into the window. Clubs are milking us. That's clear from the Botman deal, where the goalpost moved from 30 to 35 to 40. Clubs know we're desperate. Clubs know we've got a lot of money, and that's not a good recipe for us, because every time we just about think we're there. We've agreed personal terms. Not sure how that happens before the fee gets agreed, but we agree personal terms. It's just about to be accepted, and then no, they want an extra 2 million or an extra 5 million. So our new owners are getting a crash course in how to operate transfer windows, and it's not going well so far. The only saving grace for us is, as it stands, Leeds this week is our only game for the rest of the transfer window. So even if we don't get anybody in before Leeds, which it looks like now, even if we do, they won't be registered in time. We've got 8 more days after that game to somehow find 3, 4, 5 players for our next league game. So very frustrating, but hopeful that there's something around the corner.
Great. I'll take a bit of hope. If you've got some hope, I'll have it. Cheers for that, Dimi. So just coming back to this fella, Diego Carlos, his club won 50 mil. We've bid, last I read, about 35 mil. That's in euros. So, we're a little bit off on that one. As you say, we're doing that shithouse tactic where we kind of tap up the player. It's essentially tapping up the player, saying, hey, look, come to us, we'll triple your wages. And why don't you whinge to your club and see if you can get them to release you? It's that kind of whole shithouse way of doing things. That's how desperate I think we are right now. He played last night, actually, in the 1-1 draw against Valencia. So, at least he knows what a draw is. You get plenty of them over here. So, pretty good. He's got some experience there. But I remember reading a few people saying, oh, well, that's evidence that he's not going to be coming to Newcastle then. And I was like, wait, hold on. Didn't Trippier play like the day before he flew out for a medical or something? Yeah. So
yes,
you never know. I mean, I do kind of suspect Sevilla will just shift the goalposts again and play this thing out all the way to the end of the month. I reckon actually there'll be a whole bunch of movement on the last week. Might even be down the last day, you know, maybe even the last hour, because we are so desperate. And I think those big piles of cash sitting on the table in front of these teams will at some point probably look really tempting, you know. We're also being heavily linked to Jesse Lingard on a loan deal, doubling his wages from what I last heard. A winger or midfield. I thought he was a winger, but yeah, he played through the middle as well, apparently. And we're also being continuously linked to Ekiteke. He was another one who we've sort of tried to tap up behind the scenes and hasn't quite worked out for us. So just before we kind of move on to the preview of Leeds, because there's not a great deal of point in spending much more time on the transfer window when we've done naught since last week. But of these three players, any thoughts first to you, Craig?
Carlos, I do think it'll happen, but it's going to drag on for the rest of the window. Ideally, I'd love to have a signing before Leeds, but like Dimi said, don't think it's going to happen. There is a slim chance we could get Lingard in on loan before the Leeds game, but very minimal training. He's not going to need any time to adjust to the league, which is a good thing, but getting used to how the other players perform and everything, that's going to be almost impossible. And the Ekiteke lad, apparently that one is as dead in the water as it has been. It's not looking likely, but again, like you said, towards the back end of the window, anything can happen.
Yeah, and Dimi, anything you want to add there?
Yeah, similar to Craig. I reckon Carlos eventually will probably come. Sevilla will cave and on that price tag, but unfortunately for us, we're short of time. Not Sevilla. They're chasing the La Liga title. They're in the Europa League. They've got bigger fish to fry than us. We're desperate just to get one win, let alone challenging for titles. So
yeah.
That's the problem for us. We're desperate. They're not. So they're happy to drag it out till the 31st of January at 10 p.m. or 11:59, whenever the window closes. So that's the problem. I mean, I think Jesse Lingard would be a fantastic signing for us. I think we really lack any sort of creativity in the final third, if not for Sam Maximan to do something out of his backside. I mean, that goal on the weekend, besides that, he didn't do anything. But
yeah,
if it seems like if he doesn't do that, or he doesn't make something happen by beating 2 or 3 players, nobody else will. So Lingard would at least give us another option creatively, and that might open the floodgates for chances created. So I think the Jesse Lingard one we really got to go for. I mean, Man United's not going to offer him a new deal. He needs game time before the World Cup. It sounds like an easy deal to do. So hopefully, whatever the loan fee is, we pay up and get him in.
I think I heard it was a 2 mil fee, but then I don't think there was any mention of the. No, actually, yeah, we're going to double his wages, weren't we? So yeah, 2 mil plus double wages. So yeah, a fair bit of outlay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do wonder if we can get Lingard in. He would obviously be the easiest one to try and get in before Leeds, but by Christ, we haven't got a lot of time to sort that shit out. Dan, I know this is about Newcastle, but obviously you would have heard of Jesse Lingard there. I don't know if you've heard of the other two. Just as a football fan in general, have you got any sort of feeling on where Newcastle should be out of those 3 players anyway, or maybe some other player that you've heard who we should be focusing on and getting in this window?
Yeah, I think definitely at the back you guys need some bodies in there. Definitely be struggling there, but Lingard, yeah, it would be a great signing for you. I think for you guys, especially in this January transfer window, obviously you touched on it a bit. You kind of the pressure's on really to get something in or get deals done quite quickly. I think you guys just need. I know it's easier said than done, but you need guys that are really just going to keep you up, right? Just so you can kind of have the window at the end of the season and crack on from there. But I think it's important you guys get players in that can keep you up. I think Chris Wood's a good signing for you guys. Interesting to hear what you guys think on that, actually. I know obviously he's an ex-Leeds player. Yeah, I was always a fan of him, but I know he's got kind of mixed reviews. But yeah, I think that was a good signing for you, I thought. But yeah, I think you need more like that. You know, players that are ready to play straight away, like you said, you know, players that can just step in and don't need to be brought up to kind of match fitness and can do a job for you straight away. Because I think, let's be honest, you need it now.
Oh Christ, I do not. I mean, we don't ask for much. We just want to win a game. You know, it'd be nice.
Yeah.
For one game all frigging season, just give us another win, man. You know,
how are we still 2 points off safety as well? It's ridiculous. We've won one game out of 20, yet we're 2 points from safety.
because we're
ridiculous.
drawing a
so
million of
tight
them.
down there, yeah.
Yeah, and everyone else is shit down there as well.
Yeah, literally, yeah. That's because everyone else is shit. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, thanks for that, Dan. Just before we continue on to the preview, Bobby in the chat there, he mentioned that we mentioned a Mail Sport tweet saying that Newcastle have stepped up their efforts to sign Bayer Leverkusen's left back Mitchell Bakker. Was that Michael Batcher? Mitchell Bakker? By tabling a £14.5 million offer to secure the 21-year-old services. So you never know, that might end up coming to something. A left back, I still think we need centre backs more than that, but anybody in the defence, I think, is probably good for us, you know. Let's see where that one goes. All right, so that will do for the transfer window. Not a lot to talk about since bugger all's happened since last week. So we'll just get straight on and into the Leeds preview right after this little short break. All right, so let's get into the business of previewing this Leeds game. Oh, Jesus Christ. I've got this deep sense of foreboding that we're going to get absolutely murdered in this game. And let's just start, if we can, by kind of highlighting, as if we didn't know, the importance of this game to Newcastle. And you could argue Leeds as well to some extent.
For sure.
There's Newcastle. As you say, Dimi, somehow still within touching distance of safety with Watford. 3 losses followed by 2 draws. This kind of formed things the wrong way around for some reason. Norwich are starting to put together a few wins here. I think everyone thought they were gone, but yeah, they're starting to get a little lease of life. Burnley are sitting there with all those games in hand, so you never really know where you are until they've got those out the way. So you can argue that it's a false position anyway. But there we are, second bottom. Leeds up there in 15th, the dizzy heights of 15th. How we would love to be in 15th right now. It would be bloody awesome. The red outline is what I'm kind of classing as the mini league that we've referred to a few times on this podcast. So that's basically Burnley at the bottom, then us, then Norwich, then Watford, and then Everton. And then there's a 3-point gap from Everton to Leeds. And then it goes up from there, Brentford and Aston Villa and so on. That's the mini league. That's where we are. That's why we need some much needed points. We have the second worst goal difference, which will come as no surprise to anybody, because I don't know if I've mentioned it yet, but our defense is shit. So that's where we are. These are the fixtures that are coming up. So we got that 1-1 at Watford, Leeds to come, and then we've got Everton, and then Villa, and then West Ham. So at least Leeds, Everton, and Villa are teams around us. In one way or another, we've got to pick up some points, and we've got to do it pretty damn soon. So that's the context of the game, as if we didn't know. Recent signings, Dan, you touched on it. Chris Wood last week didn't do a lot last game. I mean, to be fair, he'd only been in the club for like 2 minutes. So a new body, half the players don't know how he's going. Well, all the players don't really know what he expects, don't really know where he wants the ball to go, don't really know his runs or his movement. Hopefully, by the time he plays Leeds, there'll be a little bit more understanding, having had a full week on the training pitch. And also, of course, Trippier. This will be his third game, if I'm correct on that. I believe his third game, and he was all right against Watford, I think. Don't really remember him doing anything particularly amazing, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. He didn't fuck it up, which I do remember happening from Lascelles. Thank you very much, Lascelles. But the very fact that he didn't do that is probably a good thing. So let's have a look at what we think the boys make of our lineup. Craig, do you want to talk us through? Why don't you start by just kind of giving us a feeling for how Wood did, especially last week since Dan's here, and we can kind of all talk about him. I thought he was fine, but didn't get any service. I've always liked Wood. I thought he was an excellent player at Burnley. Actually, I'm looking forward to seeing what he does, and he's great in the air as well. So we get some nice crosses to him. I'm sure he'll nuts them in. But what do you reckon of Wood from last week? And yeah, talk us through your team, please.
Well, Wood from last week, he just didn't get the service that he needs, to be honest. And I do think Fraser and Maxi were too far away from him for those knockdowns and holding the ball up, playing 3 up front, but they were all too far apart. Hence why I've gone with this formation right now. So starting at the back, we've got Dubravka in goal. Don't think he's going to lose his position. Even after his sort of mistake of releasing the ball too early, which led up to the Watford equaliser. And then across the back, starting from the left, we've got Dubbett, who I think will retain his place. I don't think he put really a foot wrong, considering He's had something like 6-7 months out in his first game back. And Lascelles, he's the captain, so he's not going to be dropped, unfortunately, because I think he should be. Shaw, he'll keep his position there because it's either him or Kieran Clark. And I'd rather have no one if Kieran Clark's the option.
Oh, Jesus.
And Trippier, he'll keep his position there as long as he's fit. He's easily the best defender in the team. That goes without saying. And then Ston on the left-hand side, but Fraser, which I think it was his more favoured position when he was at Bournemouth, to be honest. I think it was. Then we've got Shelby and Joe Linton in the middle with Murphy on the right-hand side. Again, a natural winger who can cross the ball in. And playing the number 10 role, or maybe slightly higher up, just behind Wood, got some Maxman with Wood up front. Basically a 4-4-1-1 or push up to a 4-4-2 if needed.
Yep, cool. So no place for Sean Longstaff then?
No, Sean Longstaff, he can go and play left back in the changing rooms if he wants. I don't want to see him in a black and white shirt ever again after his performance over the last few games. There's talk of him getting a new contract. If that contract is with Vodafone, he can go sign with them for 2 years if he wants to. I'm not bothered about that. But yeah, he's not Newcastle quality, let alone Premier League quality, and that says everything.
It's a real shame, you know. He was starting to develop really nicely under Rafa, but then he got bruised, he got cabbaged, and now he's probably being outclassed by an actual cabbage. So bit of a shame about that, especially with being a local lad. Dimi, let's move on to yours. Again, what did you think of Wood last week? And then let's talk about your lineup here.
Yes, I thought Wood wasn't too bad. I mean, the problem with last week was there was no service. I mean, the first half, there was a few crosses from Fraser and Trippier's side. But a big number 9 like that, you need to give him service. You got to cross the ball. I mean, if we were crossing it, we weren't even beating the first man. So I can't really lay blame to him any part of last week's performance. He held the ball up not too bad. Won some fouls, which is okay as a centre forward. But especially in the last half an hour, the gaps in midfield and the pitch was too stretched where every time Wood received the ball, there was nobody within a mile of him. So he couldn't play off anybody. He couldn't sort of bring the team up the pitch. So no blame for him. But I think there's a lot more to come from Wood. In terms of my lineup, I've gone slightly different to Craig. I've dropped the captain. In my opinion, he's had his last chance. He's done in my eyes. His confidence is clearly shot. He can't pass the ball. He can't defend. He can't header the ball. So what is he there for? Clearly nothing. Get him out of the team. I mean, just because he's in an armband on his shoulder, that does nothing. So I've gone Paul Dummett, actually, who I think is not too bad of a centre back. Probably, in my opinion, these days, Dummett as a centre back is better than a left back, because left back, he doesn't really offer you anything going forward. So we're a little bit unbalanced on the ball going forward, whereas as a centre half, he's not asked to bomb up and down that wing. So I've gone Dummett and Shah in the 2 centre half positions. I've gone Jamal Lewis at left back. I thought he was quite promising in the first few games under Eddie Howe. He looked good. He's got a great engine, can cross the ball, and gives us another overlapping threat with Fraser on that left-hand side. In the midfield, I've dropped Longstaff again, just like Craig said. I mean, he's trash. His only thing that he does at the moment, he runs around and he covers the pitch, but that's all. He can't pass the ball. He's scared to receive the ball. So for me, there's no reason why he should be anywhere near the first team. I've gone Joe Linton in a bit more of a different role this week. I mean, he's been doing well in the box-to-box role, but I think we need to have him a bit further up the pitch. So I've gone Joe Linton just in behind Chris Wood with ASM on the right-hand side and Joe Willock in the middle along with Shelby. I mean, we're not talking the cream of the crop here from our starting 11. There's not too much to choose from at the moment. But as we're not expecting any new signings coming in, I think Willock gives us a little bit more of a positive threat. I mean, hopefully he can recapture some of that second half of the season form as he did last year. Maybe he was waiting for February to turn his form around. This could be the time for him. And I think Joe Linton, we're probably asking too much from him now to be chasing up and down and being that cutter in the midfield. I think he probably deserves a little bit more freedom going forward to support Wood. So that's how I think we should go on the weekend.
Yeah, I seem to remember Dimi playing at centre back before when there was like tons of injuries, and he did all right actually. And yeah, he hasn't got any pace, has he? So I suppose being in the middle where he doesn't need it so much is not a bad idea. It'll be kind of controversial or dropping the cells just purely because he's the captain. So I'll be looking forward to the fume on Twitter if that actually comes to pass. That'll be joyful. And yeah, Willock, well, you know, he's basically Kennedy season 2 right now, isn't he? Except we were able to get rid of Kennedy, and unfortunately we've signed Willock. I would love to see him. I would love to see him start playing like he did last season because he was imperious. He was brilliant. You know, he basically saved us. How many was it? Like 7 goals in 7 games or something?
Yeah, 7 and 7. Yeah.
So yeah, I really want to see him do that again, obviously. But so far, he looks probably the least interested of all the players at the minute to actually be in the team. So that's a bit of a concern. All right, Dan, before we come to your lineup, I just want to touch on the last game first. So quite a good win, that wasn't it? 3-2 away to the Hammers. Probably, I think most people would have expected a defeat there. And also, like, it was a reverse of the FA Cup. It was that kind of strange fixture thing, wasn't it, where you play them one week and then you play them the next in a different competition. So give us an idea about how that game went, where you thought the strengths and weaknesses were from Leeds. You might not want to talk about the weaknesses too much, but tell us about your strengths and how you managed to get that 3-2 win.
Yeah, great result. As you said, not even I didn't expect us to go there and get too much, to be honest. I definitely would have taken the draw, especially we lost 2-0 the week before. It was an FA Cup game, but even with the FA Cup game, with the amount of injuries you've got at the moment, it was still a very young squad, particularly the FA Cup game. And then it was an absolute brilliant result on the weekend. Just typical Leeds, I think, especially under Bielsa anyway. The way we played, just went at them straight up. First 10 minutes for us was we were really good. Thing is with Leeds, if we can get that goal when we do put teams under pressure, we do tend to go on and do quite well. We don't tend to lose many from winning positions. If we go 1-0 up, we tend to do well from there, and we did that. Even though they came back into the game, which I expected, West Ham. Obviously, being in the top 4, they're on an awesome season at the moment. Obviously Jack Harrison got a hat-trick. I think that's the first time he's even scored more than 2 goals in a game for the longest time. So that was also unexpected, but I'll definitely take that again. Rafinha again. I mean, he's just a different class. I mean, he's definitely above probably the level where Leeds are at the moment. But if we can keep hold of him this January, that'll definitely be another win for us. Just all in all, just such a good game. Even the youngsters that came into, because again, not really much choice to pick from for Bielsa at the moment. A lot of kids, a lot of debuts again for teenagers. Even the guys that came in did really well, and they all they seem to know. They all know what they need to be doing under Bielsa, which is evident, especially when all these kids coming in. You can see they all play the same way, and we did really well. Yeah, brilliant result.
So was it essentially the same team from the FA Cup that then played next week in the Premier League, or was there a substantial change still?
It was pretty much, there was a few changes in there. We had some really young kids. I think I mentioned it to Craig earlier. I can't remember if it was on air or off air, but we had a 15-year-old on the bench against West Ham in the first game. And I'm sure he's great, but I mean, you don't tend to have 15-year-olds on the bench too often, with Premier League squads. But it was very similar team that started. Just a couple of changes here and there. A few kids came in the FA Cup game, but then we had a couple of senior players come back in. But there's not much to choose from at the moment, so it wasn't a huge difference. No.
Yeah, and Bielsa is obviously a great coach. I think all the Leeds fans pretty much love him, like we did with Rafa, I suppose. Kind of got that cult status. Yeah. But this season's been quite different from last season, hasn't it? And last season you were kind of just destroying everyone, basically. This season's kind of gone wrong. Is that because of the injuries?
I think it's definitely played a huge part in it, if not the biggest part, to be honest. I was just speaking as a Leeds fan, but yeah, you can't not mention the injuries when you look at where we are. We never really had a settled team all season. Like at one point, I think it was up to almost 11 to 12 players out, and they were all first teamers. I think the only ever present this year is our goalkeeper. So it's been crazy. So I definitely think that's one of the reasons why we are struggling this year. But kind of hopefully starting to change that around. Some players coming back, some key players coming back into the side. Hopefully we can string some results together and get out of this.
Yeah, well, hopefully not too many results, So give us an idea of what Leeds' strengths are. You might as well talk from where the team is right now, because there's not much point in talking about a different team. But as the team is right now, is your strength really just that kind of blitzkrieg approach where you just dominate for the first 10 minutes and hope that you get a few goals and then sit back maybe a little bit?
I definitely don't think we sit back. I think even if you guys went 3-0 up or we went 3-0 up within 10 minutes, it doesn't really matter. I think we played the same regardless, which is a neutral watching it is great. And for the most part as well, being a Leeds fan is great.
Must be nice.
Yeah. Sorry?
It must be nice. What we tend to do is, we tend to get a goal and then we'll go home, basically, and just leave it wide open for anybody to do anything. Absolutely shite. Yeah, go on. Sorry. So what's your strengths? Go on, continue.
Yeah, probably like you're looking at Rafinha again, Jack Harrison, who got a hat trick last weekend. Even Dan James up front. I mean, Patrick Bamford, like the obviously huge for us last year. He's been out most of the season. He may be coming back, but I'm not sure. Bielsa doesn't tend to change a winning side if he can help it. So he'll probably be looking at the same side-ish that faced West Ham last week. But definitely you have to look out for that. Just that attack everywhere really on the pitch. The Leeds at the moment, particularly Rafinha. I would say he's definitely the biggest threat.
So would you say the weaknesses in a kind of Newcastle perspective would be to target those younger players who perhaps don't have the first team experience? Is there some area on your lineup that you think, if anyone knew what they were doing, they would just go down that line or they would attack that player and enjoy?
To be honest, it's difficult. I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but I think they'll come out, they'll play you the same as they play anyone. I don't think it matters whether you're Newcastle, whether it's Man City. I generally don't think they target a particular area. I think they just go out there and play attacking football regardless. I don't think really it seems like that anyway. He doesn't really look too much into particular areas where he can exploit. He just kind of goes for it regardless. So it's going to be a difficult game for you, I think, to be honest.
Oh, every game's difficult, mate. We're shit. Yeah, I don't know if I've mentioned that yet. But what I was asking really was like from the perspective of Newcastle. Let's say you're Eddie Howe and you're thinking, right, I need to know how to beat Leeds. You're a Leeds fan. You watch them week in, week out. Where would you say was the weakness that Newcastle could potentially exploit? And I'm definitely going to tell Eddie Howe.
Yeah, set pieces probably, mate. We seem to struggle from there.
Right.
Counter-attacking, like again, because he plays the same way with any other team, against any team, sorry. Counter-attack is always going to be an area to kind of get at Leeds for sure, because they'll have so many players forward. You know what I mean? Just that counter-attack is probably your best hope. And you definitely got the player to do that, and Sam Maximin. He always tends to do the business against us, for sure.
Great. That's wonderful to hear. We just want him to pass the ball to somebody, to be honest with you.
How did he play last game? I didn't see the full game. I watched the highlights.
He was terrible. Yeah, he basically just kind of did a lot of running into dead ends. He was marked pretty tightly, in fairness, as well as Wood, actually.
He does tend to be, doesn't he? Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's one of those things where everyone knows what he's going to do, so you kind of just try and give him 2 or 3 men around him. Obviously, that leaves space behind, but last week especially, he was losing the ball left, right, and centre. Up until the point where he scored the goal, which was fantastic because I'd slagged him off up until that point. And made me look like a right tit. Yeah, well, that's it. And that's kind of why you would persist with him in the team, because he's about the only person who will do that.
Isn't he?
Yeah, I think Dimi was saying that. He's about the only person who can make something out of nothing.
Yeah. Well, sadly, ASM's not the sort of one who's going to cross the ball early. No. He's sort of the one who's going to try and dribble half your team and then try to cross the ball. But he's the sort of player that he's unpredictable, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, last week it didn't work until it did with the goal. But like Lee said, you need, especially us, we have no other option. So you need that sort of player who can do something different. And like you said, Dan, on the counter-attack, that might be a chance for us because you guys are going to be bombing forward. He might be one-on-one with your fullbacks, and that might be a good matchup for us.
Yeah,
We just have to not sit deep. If we sit deep and try and defend,
no, you can't invite. Yeah, that's not going to work.
No, we lose. I've said it before. We cannot do it. We are absolute shite.
You almost have to come at Leeds. I think that's again, going back to our weakness is definitely if teams come at us as well. That's where your best chances for sure.
Have you generally been okay at home?
Not too bad. Obviously, the position we're in, we haven't been too good anywhere, to be honest. Too inconsistent. But last year we were good at home, but it's huge for us. We need to get this. It's a big game for us too, for sure. Definitely need to get that one.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk your team. Let's see who you've gone with. As you've already mentioned, Rafinha up there. Dallas, he gets a few goals, doesn't he?
Dallas, he does. Yeah, he plays all over the shop as well. I mean, I put him in at right back there, but he drifts in. I mean, you got Costa in the centre, who's usually a centre back. Can play anywhere really along the back. Usually does centre back. Against West Ham, he played at centre defensive midfield. But yeah, Dallas can play pretty much anywhere. To be honest, that side is picked off like what we have. To be honest, some of those could change. I think we got a couple of players coming back in potentially, as I was saying earlier with Bamford. I think he may be available. He could well be on the bench. I just don't think he'll start him yet.
Mm-hmm.
So you probably go with James up front again, just like he did against West Ham. Rafinha picks himself. If he's available, he's going in. Same with Harrison. I've got Bate there, who's the kid that came on against West Ham. He's only 18. Whether he'll actually start, I'm not too sure. Again, it depends who's available, to be honest. I put him in there because I didn't have anyone else to pick.
Right.
But, as I said, at the moment, it pretty much picks itself. Strike at the back there was out for a few weeks, came back against West Ham and had a really good game. So I fancy him to just slot back in. Firpo actually a left back there. I've got in. He limped off against West Ham, so he could be out. I don't know the extent of that injury yet. He's come out and said that he may well be back, or I think that was actually who actually said that. Who do we have off? Forshaw actually, who I've taken out and put Bate in. Forshaw limped off as well, so we've got 2 more injuries, which I don't really know the full extent of yet. So I'll probably be roughly decided, I imagine.
Right. Okay. So 1 or 2 more injuries against Newcastle, and you're going to be right up shit creek.
I think we already are. I don't see how we can get any worse, to be honest.
Right. Melia's a good keeper, though, isn't he?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, he's a very kid too. I think he's 21. And
Nice.
obviously broke the records for most appearances in the Premier League for someone his age, and it's quite a bit as well. So no, he's good. Looks good.
Sensational find, that guy. Craig, Dimi, anything you want to say about this Leeds lineup, or how Newcastle are going to go about breaking it down?
I think the midfield, if Bate does start in his Premier League debut was a sub effectively. I don't know how long he played, half an hour maybe.
Yeah.
There could be a few nerves. It'll be his home debut. There's always going to be some nerves creaking in there. Maybe Joe Linton with his height, pace, and strength, because he's actually quite a short fella, Bate, from what I've seen. He's not the biggest there. So if we've got some long balls up into midfield, I'd imagine Joe Linton's just going to put himself on him, just so he out muscles and out jumps him, which can only help us getting the ball further up the field. They do have some real threats in, like Harrison. He's going to be on an absolute high from his hat-trick last week. And Rafinha, like Dan says, he walks into that squad. James can be unpredictable. He can either hit one into row Z or he can hit one straight into the top corner. It's going to be an interesting game, and I think the middle of the field is where it's going to be won or lost.
And Dimi?
Yeah, looking at that lineup, I'm thinking if Lascelles plays and he gets out jumped by Dan James up front, then I'm gonna take the next flight to Newcastle, and I might have to teach him a lesson, because I mean, looking at that front line for Leeds, it's very dynamic, it's very quick, skillful. Aerially, we shouldn't have a problem. So that's a benefit. Last week we shouldn't have a problem when Lascelles got out jumped by a diver, so that didn't go well. But but like Craig said, I think if the youngster starts in the midfield for Leeds, with someone with Shelvey's experience, he should be bossing that midfield, and you'd hope Shelvey and Joe Linton and Willock, or if Willock plays, that they can get on top in that area of the pitch.
All right. Cheers. All right. So let's do score predictions and we'll wrap this up. So I'm going to go with an optimistic 4-2 defeat. Optimistic in the sense that I don't even think we'll get 2 goals, frankly, but I'm going to go for a 4-2 defeat. I don't normally like doing predictions where we lose, but, we are where we are. Craig?
Heart wants 3 points, so my heart's going to say a 2-1 win, but my head says a 3-0 loss.
Yeah. Dimi?
2-2 draw.
Ooh, 2 goals for you as well. And Dan, try not to be biased, mate.
I do fancy us to win, guys. Sorry, but I'm going for 3-1.
3-1. Right. So let's see what happens there. The winner gets this Michael Owen DVD over here. Can't get rid of it. Yeah, there's a story behind that. I'll not bore you with it, but if you get the score right, I'm going to send that across to you in the post, you lucky bastard. And you can destroy that however you feel. All right, I think I'll do for us, lads. Thanks, Dan, for joining us today. It's been great to have you on, giving us that Leeds perspective. Very interesting. Best of luck to you all boys for the rest of the season. Starting after the weekend, obviously, because I want us to absolutely dry hump you lot. But yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. But yeah, best of luck for the rest of the season.
Cheers,
Hopefully, we'll see you lovely subscribers for the next episode, which will once again be a live watch along this weekend, this Sunday, 1 o'clock in the morning, Queensland time, or 2 o'clock in the morning, Sydney and Victoria time, for this Leeds game. Yeah, it'll take us the rest of the week to get over it, and even longer if we don't win, frankly. Just before we finish, apparently Bobby's telling us that Carlos is very close now. 2 journals in Craig Hope and Downey from Sky are both saying that it's very close now. So you never know. By the time we play this Leeds game, we might have another fella on his way. So fingers crossed for that. But he won't be in time to actually play the game, unfortunately. So as always, thanks for watching or listening. We're available on Twitter at TuneUnderPod. Our website is TuneUnder.com, and we're on YouTube and Facebook too. Just search for TuneUnder Podcast. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, all that stuff, and especially give us your comments and questions. Every bit of interaction helps us build this podcast. I mean, we're already the best in the Southern Hemisphere, but that still is 50% of the planet that we still have to conquer, Come on. I know it's hard to believe, but we can actually get better. I know it's amazing to think about that. But because we're so mint, basically. But we're all going to get bigger and better. We want to bring you a lot with us. So please give us those subscriptions and those likes and those follows. It means a lot to us. And thanks for watching and listening. Thanks, everyone. Stay safe out there. Cheers, boys.
Cheers.